Good morning. It's Tuesday and it's raining again here. Imagine that. It was nice and sunny yesterday, but here we are again in the rain. Yes, in the rain. Craziness. Craziness for sure. Let me get to this. All right, so I can keep up with the chat. So if you're here for sure, let me know you're here and say hello. Tell me how you're doing. Tell me that you wish it was Friday. Sometimes we feel like that. That's okay. 100%. That's okay. Um, we are going to um, talk about something today. Well, hello, Angela. How are you? Thank you for saying hello. I was starting to talk to myself, and don't I do enough of that? I think, but that's just me. Do what?
You're not showing up on the app.
On the
I'm
app.
trying to check for updates real quick.
Oh, okay. I showed up on mine. Um, okay. Anyways, Lee's talking to me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm rude. Um, So, anyways, that's okay because I've talked to myself a lot in the past and even in the present. Sometimes I am my best conversation piece. And yes, I do answer myself. So, if you're that person, don't think you're alone. That's for sure. Don't think you're alone. So, we're going to talk about something today that I know I've been guilty of. And most of the things I do talk about, I am guilty of. Seriously, like it's hard for me to talk about things or to try to help anyone, especially when I do these. It's hard if I haven't experienced something that's like it. Matter of fact, I've had some things that I have skipped in the devotional because I'm like, I don't feel like I really have any knowledge about it, and I try hard. That if I haven't at least lived it myself, that I can at least tell you that I've seen people live it, and I think for this one too, I think that this is something that everybody wishes that maybe they had learned sooner. And you know what? There's still some people years later who either are trying to learn this, or let's be honest, maybe they don't want to. I'm going to talk specifically about grudges. I'm going to talk specifically about saying that you want to get by something, but yet there is no direction. There is no direction showing that you are, how we can hold on to things. Um, and that is a shame, to be honest. It is a real shame because it doesn't just hurt the people around you, it can hurt you, it can hurt your growth, it can hurt your mental attitude. It can help you, it does not help you see that anybody can be different, that you can be different and that you can grow from things, whether it's something that was done to you, maybe intentionally, not intentionally, whatever that looks like. um, you know, Divorce. I've been there, and holding on to things from my divorce, or why didn't my ex-husband do this? Why didn't he do that? Why is he doing it now with his current wife, who I love, and but yet it didn't seem like maybe I was worthy of it. Maybe that's how I looked at it, and that was keeping me angry for a long time. So I think there are different things that you can look at here. Um, maybe something that when I think about my dad and even my mom and things that were done and not done, and things that affected me. See, I had a choice, and for years I lived with not feeling like I was worthy, and I was always looking for the person who was going to make me feel worthy. And I was so mad at Jesus and God at the time, like I certainly wasn't going to look to them because, they were, God was the reason I was in this place as far as I was concerned, no matter how many times I put myself within that place. So I was always looking for somebody that would make me feel as worthy as I wanted to feel in life. And man, that's difficult because people people can be mean and people can be spiteful and people can be rude and people can be damaging and until you come to the acceptance of what you want, of what you want to be, do you want to get better? I loved um, the verse this is based on, John 5:6. And I have read this verse so many times, and I think from here on out, I will always view it differently, especially when you hear this devotion, especially because, boy, you talk about speaking to me. It spoke volumes, like I could relive my life and how I was feeling for a time, and before I decided to move forward and to quit unpacking in the moment of something bad that happened in my life. This is huge. This is huge. So the verse says, when Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" Now, you know the story. I mean, we're going to recap it here for just a second, but you're also going to hear more about it in a minute. He says, "Do you want to get well?" This is, if you remember, people would come, and you heard the story of the paralyzed guy, and the angels in the water would start moving, and everybody, as soon as that happened, if they got into the water, they would be healed, right? And he said to Jesus, yeah, but every time I try to work my way down there. Nobody will help me. It was everybody else's fault. I want to be, you don't understand, like frustration and all the excuses of why haven't you moved forward to being healed? Do you want to get well? What do you have going on in your life that you're like, I want to get over some hurt. I want to get over some anger. I want to get over some betrayal. I want to get over the fact that somebody wronged me. I want to get over the fact that life has not gone exactly how I envisioned this to go for me. I mean, business business can just peak up, and 1 minute it can be great and the next minute it can suck. And by the way, it may not even be your fault, and a marriage can go sour, and maybe you didn't do the thing that made it go sour. So what happens in those moments? Let's think about it for a minute. What happens in those moments? Do you decide that business is never good for you again? Like, this is just not for me. This went wrong. This wasn't my fault. This happened. Blah, 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 blah. I'm never going to do this again. This has just ruined me for business. Do you get something wrong with your kid and do you go, that's it. I don't want to be a parent anymore. That's it. This went wrong. I don't like it. This is hard stuff. I'm done with it. Marriage. And by the way, that's why the divorce rate is so high. Look what happened with this. No, I don't want to work it out. This hurts. This is too hard. I want to go back to where it's nothing but dating. Then I go back to my apartment. You don't have to work on something. People don't let you down. They don't fail you. Maybe a friendship where something's happened. Somebody did you wrong. And you want to stay mad about it. I'm never going to trust anything. I'm just never going to have a friend like that. I'm never going to let anybody so close. Kind of like, when you lose a pet, and as great as the relationship was, and as loyal as that wonderful animal was, you say to yourself, and I know this because I've done it. I'm not never having another dog. I'm not. It hurts too much when I lose them. It hurts too much. I can't stand it. I have never lost a child, but I swear, if losing a child hurts any worse than losing my loyal buddy, I lost Bruno, I lost Zeus, and then I lost Kane, and I felt like each one was the love of my life at the moment. I could be in a bad mood. I could be in a good mood. I could not want to be bothered. I could push him away. I could yell at him. I could take all my frustrations out on that. But that dog loved me, and in the end, that was a beautiful relationship for me. And when I had to put Kane down, I said again, just like I did with Bruno, I said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Not only are they a lot of work and a lot of responsibility and cost a lot of money, but man, it hurt. It hurt. Now, sometimes, put the animals aside, that hurt can come from people who have hurt you. And we let that hurt root so deeply inside of us that it just starts spreading disaster and hate and, a bad outlook. You thinking that nothing could possibly, that people can't change, that situations can't change, that another business couldn't help you, that a new friend could come along, or that friend could right a wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey Rosie, I just saw Rosie pop up. How you doing, baby? Good to see you. Um, these are things. One act of something that somebody does wrong, and you think that the whole world is over, and you just forget it. Forget it. I don't want anything to do with it. Nothing could get better. Well, I need to ask you. Because I had to ask myself each time that happened. When something bad happens in your life, and you say never again, let me ask you, is that about the person who hurt you? Or is it about a decision that you have made? A decision that, I can remember after my first marriage, I said, I'm done. I'm done. I don't need that in my life. I gave it 17 years of everything I had. No matter what I did, it didn't work out. I am not going to do this. I obviously have nothing that anybody wants that is worthy enough to want to fight for a marriage the way I wanted to fight for my marriage. And it shouldn't be that hard. I can even remember when I met Lee, he kind of felt the same way because he apparently had come from a bad situation, which is why we became friends. We thought alike. I don't want this. I don't want this in my life. And the truth of the matter is, thank God I didn't stay there. Thank God that somewhere in the midst of all my hurt, everything, every betrayal, every bad thing, whether it was intentional or not intentional, no matter what happened or what happened to those people who did it, thank God there was some sort of opening in my heart that led the way to say there are things that can be better. But here is the deal. Do I want them really to get better, or do I want to stay? Hey, Gwenda, good to see you, friend. Glad you could make it. Do you want to stay in that hurt? Do you want to stay in that place? Do you want to stay in the betrayal? Do you want to stay in the anger? Do you want that for your life? Do you, this person did this, God knows, I know they're going to do it again. How do you know that? And by the way, maybe that person was just a person that was meant to be in your life for a season. Yes, I believe in marriage forever, and I would love to tell you business is forever. And I would love to tell you every friendship is perfect and wonderful, and there's never ever breakage and hurt and all of that. But in most friendships, there are. Most time unintentional. So, hi Diane, good to see you. Love you. Um, I don't know, y'all. Do you want to stay there? Because for me, can I tell you, I hated how I felt when I was full of anger, I should say, not just angry, full of anger. I hated that. It exhausted me. It exhausted me to stay angry. It exhausted me to stay untrusting of other people. It exhausted me to look at somebody and always wonder what their end game was. To never take somebody in the moment, but like I want to prejudge them because of what somebody else did to me. That is not a good place to be. And I can tell you that because I've been there. I've been there. And there were times I was there for years. And I can only imagine the opportunities and the friendships and the great memories that I could have been making, but I was too busy staying angry. I was too busy not accepting apologies. I was too busy being the person who was going to teach you a lesson that you will never get in my door again. How does that work for you? Because that's exhausting. And yes, I do know that is exhausting. I have been there. God knew different about me. God knew. He knew what kind of heart he had given me. And it was going to be up to me. Hey, Carol. Oh, I'm so glad back from your walk. She's walking. I love it so much. God knew that I had a whole lot more to give. And let me tell you something. It's a good thing he kept working on me because I wouldn't be here telling you about these experiences right now. I wouldn't be here sharing the way that I have shared for years. I am here to tell you that every bad experience can not only teach you great lessons, and I don't believe the lessons are, oh girl, I will never trust anybody. No, 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 no. It teaches you the signs. It teaches you how to know who somebody is. It teaches you when the alarm goes off to look. It also teaches you to love beyond that, who to let. You know, there's a difference between letting somebody come to your door and talk to you and letting somebody sit on your couch, right? There's a difference. But along with all of those scared, somebody might hurt me again, this, that, all of that going on. Hey, Quentin, along with all of that, you know, there also comes exhaustion of you having to figure out, no, that person. Or how about this? Because somebody thinks differently than you, because somebody has a different opinion than you, because somebody sees differently, has a different religious view, um, does that mean that person is a bad person? What has happened to our society that because somebody votes differently, because somebody worships differently, because somebody loves differently, that is supposed to lead to closed doors and hate and bashing and bullying and blocking and you becoming something that I can't imagine that God would be very happy with. Why is that? Somebody disagrees with you? And suddenly that person isn't fit for your life? Whatever happened to agreeing to disagree? I do think it's politics, Quentin, to a degree. But I also believe that if we were all made the same, it would be quite a boring world. Hey, beautiful Stephanie. How are you, girlfriend? Good to see you. It would be a very boring world. I believe that when challenges come up and people think differently, people believe differently, people worship differently, whatever that looks like, gosh, we could all put our stuff out on the table right now. All of you who are chatting with me. And can I be honest? There are probably a lot of things we might disagree on. Maybe how we run business. Maybe what church we go to, what religion we are. Maybe what kind of books we like, drama, sci-fi, movies. I like a good romance. I like a good drama. I also love a good thriller. I also love some horror. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna be all around, girl. So you probably find something we like. But if I didn't like that, if I didn't like an author, if I like country music and you don't, does that mean we cannot support one another? That we cannot love one another? Because I am sorry, everybody is a dirty, rotten sinner. I know we're all trying to be our best. But if you think you're perfect, you obviously on the wrong live stream. Let me be clear, because we are not perfect. We all fail, and most of us every single day in one way or another. But I serve a forgiving God, and He picks me up every single day when I go, oh man, God, I know I shouldn't have come across like that. Man. I was short then. I shouldn't have done that. You know what? I took that out on Lee, and I shouldn't have done that. And there is forgiveness. Or maybe somebody says something in a text and you take it wrong. I hate, sometimes, look, text is great, like for business and stuff, getting people in the moment. You have to have a short conversation. You're at work. But you know what I learned a long time ago? Don't have important conversations that should be done in person. Don't have them in Texas. Don't. Don't. Don't do it. Because if you are not in a good mindset and somebody has just texted you something or emailed you something, and you read that in that negative mindset that you are in, tone is everything. Tone is everything. Everything. That when somebody says, somebody can say, look, a simple answer. Somebody can go, okay, and somebody can type it and be like, okay. What mindset are you in? Are you taking it as okay? Are you taking it okay? You know, there is such a freaking difference. Like, why do we always think the same? Lee says not all of us like tomatoes. I love tomatoes. I love them. Lee can't stand them. Now, I think it's very weird because Lee loves spaghetti and he loves pizza, and I give him a hard time about this all the time. I can put tomatoes like in something, right? And they cook down, and like he just doesn't know, like a good salsa or something. But it's something about the texture, he says, of a tomato that he doesn't like, right? So, but I give him a hard time. But because Lee didn't like tomatoes, I need you to know I still grew tomatoes this summer, okay? Until them nasty worms, them green worms, and at the end of the season, oh, don't want to talk about them. I killed like 6 of them. Gross. Blech, blech. I don't like the worms on the plant. Do you think that's going to stop me from next year growing tomatoes? Because these worms destroyed everything. So gosh knows, well, I should never grow tomatoes again. How ridiculous does that sound? But don't we treat life that way? We make something bad that's happened in our lives. Somebody has done you wrong. And how about this? Somebody does you wrong. I think about this with my ex-husband. There's a lot he got wrong. And if he had social media, he would probably get mad at me for a minute, but he could never stay mad at me. Okay? I'm just saying, he could never stay mad at me. Um, but I could call out what he had done wrong, and I could stay angry at him, and he didn't get a lot right in the relationship with me. But this is what I know. I had 2 kids with him. And even though he doesn't get it right with them all the time, and neither do I appreciate the fact that at least he's trying. He still gets it wrong at times. And my kids will call me, Mom, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it's your dad. It is what it is. You know. I tell him all the time, figure out what you can love about him. Some things will never change. Grab onto that thing and love him hard. It would have been very easy for me to tell him what an a-hole he was and, you should get away from him and I wouldn't have anything else to do with him. See, that would be very, very easy for me to say. But here's the deal. It's the only daddy they have. And if he's trying, I want them because he won't be around forever. I want them to have, even though it may not be a relationship like I have with them, because he's not me, I want them to have a relationship with him. I want them to heal from the hurt that they've gone through. I want them to want to be better. I want them to want more, right? Because that's going to be the only way they grow. This spoke to me. This devotion. Sometimes this lady Liza, I feel like she lives my life, or she's been able to telescope my life to know what I need on so many different occasions. And when I get a really good one like this, I have to believe that when it touches me, that God is saying, this is the one today, Molly. Tuesday morning, this is the one, Molly. Somebody else needs this besides you, Molly. So give it to them. And don't worry about whether they're going to get angry at you. And don't worry about whether they go, oh, can't believe that's how you think. You don't understand. You don't understand what I've been through. You don't understand the hurt I've seen. You don't understand the betrayal that I've had. You don't understand. God understands. And people come from bad places in their life, and sometimes it creates, when you don't break the cycle, it creates some bad things. But I also believe that people can be sorry. And I think they wish they had done it differently. I do believe that their dad wishes he had done some things differently. But you know what? He can't go back and do it differently. But he can go forward and do it better. Me. I know you don't want to believe this, but I wasn't always a great mom. Oh, I thought I was being a great mom, but I wasn't always being a great mom. And when things came to pass eventually that made me see I was not a great mom, that certain things I was doing was not helping my kids become what they needed to be, that I was hurting them by how I was being. I was hurting them by being there all the time, that helicopter pilot thing. You want to save them because you know they'll save themselves next time. Don't let them fall. Don't let them use their wings. Don't let them. I was not helping them. Thought it was, but it wasn't. And it was time for me to trust God and let them fall until they learned how to flap those wings. It didn't mean I gave up on being a mom. It meant that I decided that I was going to do better. That I decided that I had to change some of my actions. That I had to forgive myself and ask them to forgive me. And eventually, we could have something that was so much sweeter than what we had in the moment. And with my kids in their 30s now and me being 61, it is just that. It is sweeter than I ever imagined. It's not that they don't still make me mad, and it's not that I don't irritate them. We handle differently now. But you know what happened? They had to want to heal, and I had to want to heal. and we had to want to get well. Man, because when you decide that, even if the other person chooses not to, when you decide it, you will start transforming into something better, that even if it's not supposed to be for the person you were hoping to make it better with, somebody else is going to benefit from you deciding that you're going to heal and you are going to leave some things behind where they belong, and that you are going to live in the present. And I get the pain that when it happens, it is fresh. But let me tell you something. When you keep it in the forefront, in your face, right now, I can't see the screen. I can't see the screen because you see this? This is all the stuff that's holding me back. Do you see this? Do you see this hand in front of me? This is all the ways I was wrong. This is all the things that I did wrong. These are all the things I should have done differently with my kid. All the things I should have done differently in my business. All the signs I should have seen in bad relationships. But all I do is look at the failures. All I do is look at the anger. All I do is look at the people who betrayed me. All I do is look at the bad, 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 bad. And you know what? I can't see any good. I can't see what I need to see. In front of my face, I cannot see anything because I have blocked the blessings. I have blocked the things that are waiting for me to be beneficial to somebody else. But when you remove those things, when you say no more, this is exhausting. I'm not doing this, the same pattern of everything I've been doing, hoping for the best, being angry for what happened, all of it. If you don't want to be well enough to move on and to get better, if you want to keep following the same plan, the same hurtfulness, the same blame game, the same being the person who, I don't care, I'm never forgetting. I'm never forgetting. Nobody asks you to forget, but let me tell you something. You better start looking at what your future looks like. You better start looking at the relationships that you want. You better start looking at the things that God is putting in front of you to tell you, I have got a plan. But if you don't choose it, if you don't choose to be healed, if you don't choose to want better, if you don't get up out of that bed after making a bad decision and get up and decide to walk. Okay, I'm thinking about Carol right now. Carol had a horrific accident. And she could have sat there and she could have felt sorry for herself and thought about the reason that the accident happened, and why was her body busted up like this, and why in the world does she have to live like this, and what happened. Or she could decide, I'm better than this. I'm stronger than this. I am going to get up, and even if they tell me I'm not going to walk again, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk again. I'm going to move again. I am going to become the best version of myself that I can become. And you know what happens? Sometimes you got to get out of that same bed you've been laying in. That same bed of believing it's just going to get better. That same bed of believing that, you know, you've been wrong so bad, you're not going to trust anybody. You're not going to do nothing. Do you want to get well? That's what Jesus asked. Let's jump into this. Liza says, I walked into my appointment with my counselor, Jim, wishing I'd canceled. So much felt unsettled in my life. At this point in our journey, not only were Art and I separated, but there were also layers of complicated realities that prevented us from being able to sit down and process the fallout after his affair. As I sat in Jim's office, I felt utterly unmotivated to talk and overly motivated to cry. Liza, do you have the desire to heal from this? Liza, do you have the desire to want to heal from this? I nodded my head yes. I did want to heal. From the marital devastation, from the shock of all the unpredictable ways people had reacted to what happened. But how could I possibly start healing when there was no resolution or restitution or reconciliation with Art or others who had hurt me? I thought those who did wrong things would realize they were wrong. And then surely they would say they were sorry and seek to make things right between us. Then I would consider forgiveness. And then maybe possibly I could heal. As Jim kept talking, I started to realize I might never feel like things are fair. Let me tell you something, Cupcake. Life isn't fair. Bad things isn't fair. And it's not fair that you feel like everybody else has goodness in their life except you. It ain't fair, right? Even if the people who hurt me suddenly became repentant and owned all they'd done, that wouldn't undo what had happened. It doesn't make it go away, even if they did. What happened has still happened. That wouldn't instantly heal me or make any of this feel right. Therefore, I had to separate my feelings from their choices. My ability to heal cannot depend on anyone's choices but my own. It reminded me of something I learned during the trip to the Holy Land when my guide taught about the only two healing miracles Jesus performed in Jerusalem. The first was a healing at the pools of Bethesda. In John 5, we read about a lame man who thought he needed the cooperation of other people to help him get to the water when the angel stirred it according to the superstition believed by many. So when Jesus came and asked him the question we find in our key verse, do you want to be healed? The man's response was surprising. He gave Jesus an excuse based on the fact that no one would help him into the water. Isn't it amazing that the man was so focused on what others needed to do that he almost missed what Jesus could do? Without one word about the other people, Jesus instructed him to get up, pick up his mat, and walk. The Bible then says, at once the man was cured. The healing didn't involve anyone but the paralyzed man and Jesus. The other healing miracle is found in John 9 with a blind man. In this story, we find the disciples wanting to know whose action caused this man's blindness. Like, who caused him to be blind? Surely someone was at fault. But Jesus blew that assumption apart. He didn't place blame or shame on anyone. He said that this man's blindness happened so the works of God might be displayed in him. Jesus then spat on the ground, mixed up some mud, rubbed it on the blind man's eyes, then instructed him to go and wash in the pool of Siloam. Notice that Jesus didn't make healing contingent on other people doing or owning anything. Let me say that again. Notice that Jesus didn't make healing contingent on other people doing or owning anything. Something that happened, obviously, that caused this man's blindness. Did you hear Jesus saying, and while we're at it, we're going to call out the people who were wrong. We're going to call out the blame. We're going to call out what happened. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Jesus gave the instruction. The blind man obeyed. Jesus healed. The blind man moved forward. Let me read that again. Jesus gave the instruction. The blind man obeyed. Jesus healed. The blind man moved forward. The blind man moved forward. My guide in Jerusalem that day said one of these miracles showed us a new way to walk, and the other showed us a new way to see. Some of us are so used to walking the same path and seeing the same stuff all the time. that there are new ways to walk. There's a new path. There's a new scene over here to see. But you got to be willing to see it. You got to be willing to walk it. I couldn't grab my journal to record this revelation fast enough. I wrote, for me to move forward, for me to see beyond this current darkness is between me and the Lord. I don't need to wait on others to do anything. I must simply obey what God is asking of me right now. God has given me a new way to walk, and God has given me a new way to see. It's forgiveness, and it's beautiful. Oh, friend, what if we stopped waiting for things to feel right and feel fair and placed our healing in the hands of Jesus instead? Our ability to heal cannot depend on others wanting our forgiveness, but only on our willingness to give it. Our ability to heal also cannot depend on them receiving adequate consequences for their disobedience, but only on our obedience to trust God's justice, whether we ever see it or not. I'm reading that again. All you people who want bad stuff to happen to other people, or you don't think they've suffered enough, or you don't think, that's not your job. People do bad things. And by the way, some people out there do a whole lot of bad things and a whole lot of horrible things. It is not our job. Let me read that again. Our ability to heal cannot depend on them receiving adequate consequences for their disobedience, but only on our obedience to trust God's justice, whether we ever see it or not. Stop holding on to what you think should happen, how much somebody should be punished, how much you don't like it, and give it to God. Let Him deal with it. You are not the judge and jury. You do not get to pimp the destruction and what degree of punishment they should have because they wronged you. Nobody's taken away from the wronging, but you're the one who won't get on a better path. You're the one who won't leave where you're at. And God's got something better waiting for you, and you just keep hanging on to it. I'm going to hang on to it because you know what? I deserve for them to do better. I deserve for that company to do better. I deserve for them to treat me better and to do better and make things. I deserve that. You may very well deserve it, but maybe He's got a whole nother door open for you that says, I got something better. But you still holding on to the old. That person who keeps abusing you, that friend who just keeps putting you down in front of people and smacking at you and not liking you and makes a mockery of you, and you're like, but I just want this friendship to work. This person's been my friend for this long. I just want this to work my way. But yet he's got a whole gang out here who loves you for you and wants everything to do with you, but you are so set on what you want and how you want it, and living in the past. And oh my goodness, we age for a reason, people. Things change. People make mistakes. We are all sinful beings. Nobody's going to get it right all the time. But guess what? Is it because that you get to talk and think and gossip about how everybody else is getting it wrong, that way you don't have to concentrate on your own disobedience or your own stuck in your path because you just know what you want and you ain't leaving till you get? Is that what we call spoiled child syndrome? I think we've all done it a time or two, but that doesn't legitimize it. My healing is my choice, and your healing, it's with the utmost compassion that I say your healing is your choice too. It's not because that person wronged you. It's not because that person did something wrong. It's not because that business hasn't worked. It's because you have chosen not to heal from it and move on to something much better for you. You've chosen to stay angry. You have chosen to live with regret and retaliation and hasn't been punished enough. And some of you, you're leading people around you to do the same. You know, I had the ability that I could have absolutely turned my kids against their dad. And I was so angry at the time. I'm so grateful that some days I just chose to be silent. And I never let them know what I was feeling in a very dark heart. Because had I done that, I may have stopped something that they eventually needed. Their daddy. I know how incredibly hard all of this is. But I'm finding what I learned both in Israel and in my counselor's office to be true. We can heal. We can forgive. We can trust God. And none of those beautiful realities can be held hostage by another person. Are you tired of being held hostage by the things or the people or the company or the situation or the job that has wronged you? Because God can heal that. And He can march you on to something better if your eyes are open and you're moving forward. Here's Liza's prayer for you. Lord, thank you for inviting me to see and walk in a new, healed way today. Forgiveness and healing may feel incredibly hard to choose sometimes, but I know that you give me the strength to walk through these processes. It's a process, y'all. It doesn't just happen, but there is no process if you don't choose it. Somebody can ask you for forgiveness. And my ex-husband, he said he was sorry many times. And I had to choose to forgive him. But it's a process, right? But you know what I realized? I had to figure out what I was doing to walk towards the process of forgiveness. Not sit, okay, yeah, I'm going to forgive you, but you're going to have to give me a minute. And that minute turns into months and years and decades. It should never turn into that if you are in the process of forgiveness. And in the process, when you learn how to do that, guess what? You learn to be more like Jesus. And that's the one thing I have for you now. Look, I don't always get it right. I'm probably one of the worst sinners out there. If God ever were like to pull out the measuring tape, let's see how bad Molly's been today, he may not have enough on that 36-foot rule. But I'm so thankful that his forgiveness, when I get it wrong, is so much bigger than any measuring stick. That he says, you are forgiven, Molly. Now move on. Move forward. Do better. Because the next time you mess up, you're still going to be a little bit further than you were on the last mess up. Stop beating yourself up. Stop holding people accountable for the rest of their life for bad things. Work towards the forgiving process, whether you are the forgiver or the one being forgiven. Better yourself. Ask God for help. Ask Him for direction. Stop staying stuck in the same place. And be like Jesus, because I got news for you. While they were spitting on him, beating him, wanting to kill him, made fun of him, blasphemed him, nailed him to a cross, the forgiveness was there. And he just didn't die on that cross. He gave in to death for you and for me. And he knew how messed up I was going to be when I finally got here. Yet he still chose forgiveness for me and for you. So when you can do that, when you decide that you really want to heal instead of all the excuses why you can't heal, you're making progress. Celebrate it. And when you mess up, get back up and decide again another day that you want to heal, no matter how wrong you've been wronged. I hope the rest of your week goes wonderfully. I hope that this message will show you how to choose healing, not how to be healed. Choose it. From the bad stuff, from the really bad stuff. Move forward and grab on to something bigger God has for you. I love you guys. This is another tough one. Self-examination with this kind of stuff. Whew, man, it can take it from you. But see, I'm not alone because you're seeing this on replay or live, and I'm hitting you between the eyes because we've all been there, and we don't all get it right. It's never too late. You're still breathing. Have a great week. Do better. And, I won't see you next week. So it'll be in 2 weeks. But I'll be back. Okay? Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.